It is time to have that uncomfortable conversation, but I'm sure not a lot of Detroit Lions content creators are going to do that. In this video, man, we're going to talk about the Josh Reynolds effect. Now, before we go down the rabbit hole and you guys are commenting in the comment section about we didn't need Josh Reynolds, yes, we did. Okay, Josh Reynolds, I want y'all to understand something. Josh Reynolds had nothing to do with Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams was always going to be the number 2 wide receiver. See, what Josh Reynolds would have done is he would have competed more with Sam Laporta than anything else. The year that Sam Laporta had last year, in my opinion, was an anomaly. You don't have many tight ends that get close to 1,000 yards. It just doesn't really happen. The top maybe five tight ends, they get that type of yards, but it's very rare for a tight end to cross 1,000 yards, right? So Josh Reynolds was never going to impede Jameson Williams' growth. Jameson was always going to be the number 2 wide receiver. Now, in terms of yards, Jameson Williams currently sits at the number 1 wide receiver on the Detroit Lions. But the bottom line is this, and again, I'm really kind of relishing in my villain role right now. And I know I make a lot of these videos about me, but I mean, what else can I do, right? I'm the one making videos. I'm the one in front of thousands of people. I'm the one with hundreds of comments telling me that, you know, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? So right now, we are missing Josh Reynolds. And the fact that the Detroit Lions not only let him walk because they undervalued his services, they also did not bring in a replacement via free agency or the draft. Very clear. Now, I will say this. When we traded for Donovan Peoples-Jones and I had to make a decision, I chose DPJ, simply age. Being 24, 25, whatever he was at the time, I chose DPJ. I did because I expected more from him, so I wind up being wrong. But once the season progressed, I kind of saw that DPJ was not going to mean anything to this team. And I was like, man, I made a mistake. Josh Reynolds. I was very disappointed when he left. Now, unlike Jamal Williams, the absence of Josh Reynolds is being felt on this team. Now, I think it's funny that Lions fans, when we want somebody, we praise them to no end, right? So we gave DJ Reader, and I got to look in his snaps. I got to see when he was in. How many snaps was he in? How many of those 5 sacks was he in the game when Hutch got him? But we give the DJ Reader effect. Why can't we give it to Josh Reynolds or any other part of the team? There is a absence of a middle, across the middle wide receiver, an absence of a guy who may not have a ton of catches, but when he does, he's going to get first downs. And I believe the Detroit Lions do not go 1 for 7 in the red zone if Josh Reynolds is part of the team. Now, Josh Reynolds does not have a touchdown with the Denver Broncos, but he is playing with a rookie quarterback. He's not playing with a guy that until this year, he had spent 7 games of his career not playing with. All right? This is turning out after 2 weeks. It is an issue. I'm not saying that we can't rectify it. I'm not saying that it won't change. I'm saying that 2 weeks in, if just sit back and think about this. We want to put the offense. We're quick to attack Jared Goff. And this is what I don't understand about y'all. Not many of you hold the general manager accountable. All right. And what I mean by that, Dan Campbell, we hold him accountable for his dumb decisions. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell both have put equal amount of time into this team, and they both have changed this organization. There's no doubt about it. But there have been some questionable decisions that have really affected this team thus far. There are 2 things that stand out to me. Not drafting another bookend to Aiden Hutchinson, and in free agency, taking a less expensive route. We got a guy who needs to stay healthy, and maybe he'll have the talent. Now, let's go to wide receiver. We did not draft a wide receiver. And don't forget, Josh Reynolds had already signed with the Denver Broncos during the NFL draft. Then the guy we traded for at the trade deadline didn't even make the 53-man roster and is currently not taking a snap for the Detroit Lions in the 2024 NFL season. So I'm not like, oh, Brad Holmes sucks and he's the worst general manager of all time. And yes, I sit in my basement talking about the Detroit Lions. But one thing that I'll say is right now, the numbers tell a story, right? This team misses Josh Reynolds. There's no doubt about it. Again, let me be clear to the people in the back. Josh Reynolds was not going to impede Jameson Williams' growth. He was going to listen. Sam Laporta had a freak year. There's really no reason Sam Laporta should have been the number 2 wide receiver. I mean, really no reason. But he was. That wasn't going to happen this year. Best case scenario, Sam Laporta will be 3, maybe 4. After Jameson Williams, after Amon-Ra St. Brown, we do not have a guy that can take any pressure off our guys. All right. So it is a problem. It needs to be fixed. Okay. So let's do this. Let's bring in, we're going to look at Josh Reynolds stats. First of all, let's look at the Detroit Lions. Let's look at the leaders of the team. Of course, Jared Goff, passing leader. David Montgomery, rushing leader. Jameson Williams, receiving leader. Interceptions, Kirby Joseph. Alex Anzalone, tackling leader. That's kind of what he does. Now, let's scroll down a little bit, okay? And let's look at the receiving leaders for the team. Okay? Receiving leaders for the team. You looking? All right. Jameson Williams, receiving leader. Then we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, receiving leader. Okay? What's after that? Who do we have after that? Sam Laporta, receiving leader. Okay? There are 2. Our next wide receiver is Khalif Raymond with 27. Khalif Raymond with 27. This is where Josh Reynolds is supposed to be. Right here. Let's look at their average. And this right here, to me, is the difference maker. And this is why I say that we truly do miss Josh Reynolds. Okay? Let's look at the average. Jameson Williams, of course he is. All right? Jameson Williams. We've got 20-yard average. Amon-Ra St. Brown. We have 9.4. 9.4. All right? So I want you to keep that in mind again as we go over the rest of these stats. Because you'll see why Josh Reynolds, missing him, is a problem. Okay? Let's go to Josh Reynolds' stats with the Denver Broncos. He has 9 receptions. He has 138 yards, 0 touchdowns. But I want you to see here. I want you to see this here. 15.3. All right? Now, let's just every year is different. So we can't say how it would have gone and things like that. And I'm not trying to say how it would have gone. I'm just trying to bring out a point here is that the production, the reliability, and whatever you say about the NFC title game, yeah, it happened. Whatever you say about, he wasn't worth the money and all this other stuff. Everyone has a bad game. His just came in the most costly game at the most costly time. But again, let's go back to 2 games in. All right. Now, I want to know, what did he average in the Detroit Lions 2 games? Now, Jameson Williams was suspended. So comparing it to last year is kind of an unfair advantage. And what I mean by that is Jameson Williams was suspended, so he wasn't in there. Okay. But let's do this. Let's go and let's see what Josh Reynolds, what was his. Let's look at his average. Let's go to stats. Let's see if we can see by game. Josh Reynolds by game. And this is going to upset a lot of people. But sometimes you just need the proof to be in the pudding. Regular season. We're in 2020. Can I switch? Nope, I can't switch to. Okay, let's go to 2023 with the Detroit Lions. Let's see if I can click there. See if that brings me to. Nope, it just takes me to the Detroit Lions in a whole. Okay, so as a whole, they have, I think it is under game log. All right, so there it is. Let's go to game log, and then we can go to 2023 regular season. Should update with the Detroit Lions stats. There it is right there. All right, so let's look at the game log for Josh Reynolds, okay? And again, this is showing you how much we miss his reliability, and productivity. We miss him being an option. Right now, we don't have that. We can have that with Tim Patrick, Allen Robinson, maybe even Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, why not Khalif? Not Khalif, Isaiah Williams at this point, okay? But let's take a look at his, as we look at his production, his average per game. He averaged 20 game 1, 13 game 2. Game 3, he wasn't even, I don't even know if he played, but he had no anything. 23, game 4, 19, okay? I don't know if you guys can see it. You probably can't. 19, game 5, 16, 21, 13. One of his lowest games was the Charger game. His first game under double digits of the season. 11, second game here. 12, 14, 20, 16, 13, and 8. So he had 3 games all season where he averaged single-digit yards on average. Okay? I truly believe yesterday, if we have Josh Reynolds, we don't go 0 for 7 in the red zone. We just don't. So right now, we're missing his production. Okay. Now you can say, well, Jameson Williams was going. No, that's not the point. That is not the point. I don't understand. Y'all say, I don't know ball. That's not the point. It's not taking away that Jameson Williams, his production is going to make up for the lack of production that Josh Reynolds. You got to understand, we are missing a body. That is the point. You have Jameson Williams. You take him away. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You take him away. You had Josh Reynolds. So even though Josh Reynolds had 608 yards, he had 40 targets, 40 receptions off 64 targets. He was never going to take away from Jameson Williams. He might have eaten into Sam Laporta. But again, Sam Laporta, let's do this because I already know this comparison is coming and this video is running long. So I don't want to make it run too long, but let's look at the comparisons and we're going to go to, I want to know what was the tight end stats for last year. How many yards did the highest tight end have? Interceptions, receiving. Okay, let's go. Let's see if we can break this down per position. Receiving, all NFL, American football. Okay, so special teams, defense. So it looks like I would have to go to a different a different kind of stat line for this. Because I don't know if I can see it with as far as I can't see it based on position. A lot of wide receivers. All right, so let's do this. This is the best way I can do it. So we'll make this work. We're gonna do from lowest or highest to lowest. And eventually a tight end is gonna show up on this list. So what's the first tight end with the most receiving yards? George Kittle, 1,020. George Kittle is an anomaly. All right, so keep that in mind. Josh Reynolds was going to eat into Sam Laporta's targets. Very rarely, like I started off saying, does a tight end get over 1,000 yards. So right now, George Kittle, and he barely made it. George Kittle is the only tight end to get over 1,000 yards. Travis Kelce, 984. Evan Ingram, 963. TJ Hawkinson, 960, and he got hurt second to last game of the season or 2 games before. And then who else do we have? The next tight end was Sam Laporta at 890 yards, pretty much. So what I want you guys to understand is not only are we missing his production, we're missing the body. We're missing his presence. We're missing his average per catch. All of that is true. Can it change? It absolutely can. It can. There is time for it to change. But when you have a guy like Josh Reynolds, who is averaging currently in Denver 15.3 yards per catch, and you don't have that anymore, you're going to miss it. I honestly believe that there's a few reasons for the Detroit Lions offensive struggles to start off the season. 1, they're rusty. They didn't play in last year's preseason, but they didn't look this rusty. They're rusty. 2, I think we missed Josh. I think Josh Reynolds is showing that he was a much bigger part of this offense than you think he was. And again, I think the numbers are backing me up right now. I'm not trying to be right. It ain't about that. It's just about looking at the numbers. The numbers say that we miss Josh Reynolds. We miss his body. We miss his production. We miss what he can bring. We miss his reliability, NFC title game aside. And if you go back and you watch that game, he made some catches in that game too, right? So Lions got to fix their offensive woes, and I think it's two things that they need to do. They need to stop getting away from running the football. That's what they need to do. You can't have a person. They ran 80-plus plays yesterday. You know how rare that is for you to run 80-some-odd plays when, 69 is a lot? They cannot. They have to get back to the run game, and they have to find a replacement for Josh Reynolds. Is it Tim Patrick, Allen Robinson, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Isaiah Williams, Tom Kennedy, whoever it is? Okay? We have to, because right now our biggest three receiving options, Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, you take those three away, there's no one right now. So let me know your thoughts. I know it's going to be a debate. I don't think y'all are going to be as hostile as you once were, because I think now that the product is on the field and we can see the outcome, I think now it's kind of like, Derek, you know what? Thought you was full of it in the offseason, but I see what you. I think a lot of y'all think I'm full of it. I really do, man. When all I do is simply go by the numbers, that's it. Sometimes is it the best thing to do? I go by the numbers. That's simply all I do. And the numbers tell a story. They don't tell the full story, but they tell a big part of it. They tell a big part of it. And Josh Reynolds was a big part of this offense. Now, it's one thing that I want to bring in real quick. I know I said I wanted to wrap this video up, but I think this is important. Josh Reynolds this was his red zone targets with the Detroit Lions. In week 2 last year, he had 2. In week 4, he had 1. And in week 5, he had 1. He had 1. He had 2 in week 12, week 13, and week 14 were both 1. And he had 5 touchdowns, I believe. So out of his 1, 2, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He had 9 red zone targets, according to NFLsavant.com. And he scored 5 touchdowns. I don't know how many of those touchdowns were in the red zone, because if you're 21 yards out, that doesn't count. So we're missing him. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This channel is brought to you by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions. One more piece of advice. Be careful who you rock with on YouTube.